I created Species Nutrition with one mission in mind: to provide bodybuilders and serious athletes with no-nonsense supplements that work. I put my name and reputation on every bottle of Species Nutrition products. If you want to be your absolute best, join the evolution.
Welcome back. You're watching the Midday Muscle. Well, it seems like all that crypto shit has slowed down recently, but if you were one of the people lucky enough to catch a huge pump by getting on the action, props to you. You're probably sitting pretty right now because the return of some of those things was wild. And to finally draw a bodybuilding parallel with all this, if you got in early on Samson Dauda, you're probably also in the same boat as the crypto crew, because his market value has absolutely exploded over the last 12 months. He's gone from intriguing prospect to top 6 Olympian, to Arnold Classic winner in the blink of an eye. And at this point, it feels like his stock still has a lot of room to run, if he keeps going at this rate. Now with all that said about Samson, as far as bodybuilding is concerned, Hadi Choopan is still the king of the market. And given some of the things that we're seeing from him lately, it does not seem too likely that we'll be seeing that change anytime soon. One of the interesting things about Hadi is that he seems to be pretty aware of a lot of these conversations that are going on across the bodybuilding community. Conversations about Samson and Derek supplanting him as a champion this year, and it honestly feels like he's taking it personally. Looks like he's training with that old chip on his shoulder that you don't always see from athletes who are at their peak of their respective sports. And that extra edge has got to count for something when you compete at this level. So, even if he's living in a market that has a handful of guys who are on a bull run, at the end of the day, his status as #1 force in his sector is not likely to change. And keeping the updates rolling, here's one from your reigning and defending Arnold Classic champ, Ramon Dino, who looks like he's already pulling out all the stops 5 months out from trying to make a run at Chris Bumstead's world title. Ramon's situation doesn't exactly parallel Samson's in the sense that he's been on a steady 2-year climb as opposed to being shot out of a cannon the way Samson was. But that doesn't change the fact that his stock is as high as anyone else's in the division right now. If you look back at what he did in Columbus back in March, you can see some noticeable improvements between the look he had there and now. So now that he'll have an extended period to train without being sucked into a contest diet, you'd imagine that this time around he'll have a few more weapons in his arsenal. Now whether or not that'll be enough to unseat Chris is another story altogether. But in the very least, he's going to have a few shots to make things interesting, which would be enough to make this race way more competitive. And lastly today we have a classic physique update for you, coming from your Cheru Classic Italy winner, Laszlo Carly, who you need to tell me how to pronounce the last name of, and who's starting to generate some buzz as a potential top 5 finisher at this year's Olympia. Right now this division is so talent rich, it's impossible to keep up with how many incredible guys we have in these shows week in and week out. But the general consensus that you hear from people who are in the building at the Cheru is that this guy checks all the boxes you look for in the top guy in this division. He's around 6'2", his structure is great, and compared to the rest of the guys we saw in that Cheru lineup, he had relatively few weaknesses. That leaves the small sample size with him being the only real question mark. He's only competed twice as a pro, once at the Cheru and once last year at the Arnold UK. But if his ceiling is as high as some people believe it might be, it should be interesting to see what that sort of shakeup does to the top half of the lineup. And there you have it, one more Midday Muscle. I'm gonna be doing the damn thing tomorrow. See you later.